Unable to make sense of the images being shown by the media, panic spread across the world like wildfire. With the armour armours now fueled by the strange essence of the selenium, their otherworldly forms incited mass hysteria throughout Nanotopia. Mark stood at the podium, flanked by his inner circle of trusted advisors and anti-Fornians, basking in the glory of the mayhem they were creating. The painstaking plan of the confidential cabal was unfolding across the world. Unbeknownst to the citizens, the enemy had long been in their midst. The shell-corp automaton labourers found in such abundance across Nanotopia suddenly began to reveal their true form, transforming themselves into selenium-powered shell soldiers in an incredible feat of mechanical mutation. The Nanotopians watched in horror. The automatons they'd lived side by side with, sometimes even helping care for their children, altering themselves into instruments of violence. The effects being felt across the cities, towns, villages, farms and factories. The world instantly erupting into battle, a situation yet unknown to the collective memory. Up until this point, forms of conflict on a utopian world had always been dealt with in more elegant means. Any friction commonly the result of varying viewpoints by scholars and philanthropists, or apprehension instigated by the groundbreaking inventions of the Tortuga family. Violence as a form of conflict resolution was unheard of. Instead, the only aggressive acts took place during the beautiful contests of martial arts mastery occurring within the contests of Arena Anima, Temple of Honor. Now, countless skirmishes raged throughout the land, exponentially growing as time passed. Surprisingly, the citizens seemed to be holding their own in the cities and more populated areas, with these places containing a large percentage of citizens compared to automatons per capita. There was hope that this nefarious plot by Shellcorp could be stopped. The Ultra Anima racers and other Fornians were becoming the heroes of the day, using their incredible skills and anima armour to help beat back the automaton invaders and seemingly defend their cities. Unfortunately, this feeling of impending triumph was very unwarranted, as the vast majority of farms and factories were located in the more rural and sparsely populated regions of Nanotopia. The citizens living there were faced with far different circumstances. The automaton labourers from the farms and factories morphed into growing armies of formidable selenium-powered shell soldiers. The collected groups swarmed across the land, capturing or killing any citizens that failed to assimilate to the Shellcorp's new agenda. Sweeping through towns and villages, their numbers continued to grow as the shell soldiers from each settlement joined the ranks. The soldiers were a kinetic force, barreling over the land, speed and momentum increasing along with the expanding mass of their numbers. Soon it became apparent that the cities were the endpoint of these roving forces. The citizens and Fornians attempting to retain these strongholds began to prepare for their arrival. Though everything was unfolding as planned, Mark Tortuga grew impatient. The introduction of mysterious selenium was affecting him in many ways. Coursing with his newly found power, Mark was unable to restrain his lust for vengeance, his thoughts corrupted by a lifetime of jealousy, entitlement and selfishness. Mark's mind was now consumed with extracting payback and gaining power for the reptile class. Determined to redefine a family and company that he felt unwillingly allowed themselves to be subservient to the Fornians. Mark had reached his boiling point with the General's strategy. He raised the General Saw scale, insisting that they wait no more. Mark and his crew joined the fray. The view from the cities was terrifying. A literal horde of elimination arose from the horizon, appearing as an immense amoebious mass obscuring the landscape. As the form drew near, the individual marauders began to emerge. Terrifyingly, scattered throughout the nearly unfathomably sized horde of shell soldiers and anima armours was Mark, General Sawscale, and the rest of the inner circle. Easily discernible from the crowd, moving at insane speeds and annihilating any resistance unlucky enough to fall in their path. The collision course was inevitable. As the Fornians and their allies prepared for the showdown, the swarm of mayhem had begun crashing against the capital of Nanotopia, Paragon City. The city had been home to many revered Nanotopians, Fornian and non-Fornian alike, such as Albert Green and Sheldon Shelley Tortuga, as well as being the starting point of the Ultra Anima races for decades. Having constructed makeshift defences that were impressive for a pacifist society, they were no match for the dynamism of Shellcorp's Shellinia-powered instruments of carnage. The cities fell with a speed that was difficult to comprehend. Afterwards, following the orders of General Sorescale, all survivors who were not loyal to their cause were imprisoned or transported by the Shell soldiers to the Shell to begin work in the mines. Mark Tortuga also returned to the Shell, a place that from the outside was transformed in an instant from beloved den of progress to an abomination. Now surrounded by prison camps housing all the Nanotopians, his existence was now devoted to extracting the precious Shellinium. Mark enjoyed the view from his new lair. He looked out over the land that had just been laid to waste. Mark gazed towards the horizon, beyond the ever-expanding prison camps to the distant silhouette of the broken and smouldering Paragon City. Feeling satisfied that he was able to finally unleash his rage on the world and step out from the shadow of his legendary grandfather.